This is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I regret to report that both our Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen. With the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Do not return to the temple. That time has passed. And our future is uncertain. We will each be challenged. Our trust, our faith, our friendships. But we must persevere. And in time, a new hope will emerge. May the Force be with you, always.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away,
So Caroline Reed basically went back to Companies House .gov UK and discovered that The Force Awakens shell company, Foodles Productions, which is based out of the same office that Blue Stockings Limited UK is, basically they're run by the same people. They're still working. They usually shut these down after a while, but that shell company is still making filings, etc. And she discovered just how much money that movie cost. It is the most expensive movie in the history of film. $638 million. Okay, it shattered the spending record. It cost over twice as much as any movie up to that date cost. Okay, that, and even afterwards, that includes The Dial of Destiny. Okay, which Disney admits to it costing about $320 million. I think it probably cost more like $400 million because of all the delays due to Harrison Ford hurting his shoulder. So what does it mean? I mean, why did it cost so much? Well, a lot of reshoots because J.J. Abrams sucks. Extravagant, over-the-top effects that played out not as interesting as the effects in the original Star Wars movie, even the theatrical release, which I have a copy of. The fact that there were probably delays due to Harrison Ford, again, having the landing ramp of the Millennium Falcon land on his leg, or his foot, and breaking it. Basically, this movie cost too much money. Now, yes, they did make about $2.1 billion. Disney was able to take most of that home. The studio revenue ended up being $538 million. I'm going to say this. I don't think Disney has made over $1 billion with all the movies they've made from the Star Wars franchise combined. Okay? I would like it if Ms. Reed would do a reading on, 533 million. Okay, so that's what they got, okay? They got a great tax credit from the British government, which is why they made all their movies there. I will link the article in the description so you guys can read it. But I don't think they did, and the reason why is because this movie didn't make close to what I thought they made before. Okay? And actually, all right, if Disney got to take home $1 billion and the average studio take, it averages out globally to 49%. The United States, it's much lower. China, it's 80%. China takes 80% of that. So if you're a namby-pamby little woke piece of shit, The Last Jedi goes to China, only makes $20 million. You get about $5 million from that, which is nothing. It's some middle school teacher's retirement fund. That's it. So I want you guys to understand, this has never been a success. Even when it supposedly made money, it wasn't a success because The Force Awakens was as good as it got. Okay, then you see the box office track downward badly. So if The Last Jedi made $1.3 billion and Disney took half of that, they didn't make any money on that. Okay, and this is the years that they're talking about. I mean, here's a diagram showing year by year. The fact that they have not closed the shell company up means that they're still trying to milk the only successful Star Wars movie they ever made. Well, except for Rogue One, but even then, that didn't make any money because of all the reshoots. This is my thing. If you look at, what we need to do is we need to find out what all the shell companies for these Star Wars movies were called and then start digging into the numbers. Because then you can figure out just how much money they made. Because again, I say that because The Force Awakens was the ultimate box office, and then it didn't just track badly. It dropped by 900 million, then over $1 billion. Okay, from what The Force Awakens made. Okay, and it never got up to where it should have been. And it could have been. I mean, it's really phenomenal how the Star Wars franchise can seem successful, but when you look into the numbers and start adding it up, it doesn't add up to being successful. And you've got to ask yourself, why was this allowed to continue? Why was Kathleen Kennedy kept on board? I mean, those are good questions.
Is the glue to all 5 of these films that gave us all of our rhythm and all of our melody, the great maestro, John Williams.
Excuse me, I believe I asked you to put a chick in this and make her gay.
What an odd combination of odors. Smells like a fish died and all the other fish sent flowers.
So, in looking at the numbers for The Force Awakens and seeing just how overboard the budget really was, you gotta ask yourself, what was Bob Iger thinking in not looking for somebody else to run Lucasfilm? Now, granted, we are pretty sure that Kennedy has a no fire for cause clause in her contract. But again, why didn't you, Bob, renegotiate the contract to get rid of that? Because look, you went from an overdrawn, I think, piss poor movie that's only promise was the original cast that was then fucked over, to Rogue One, which was nothing but a disaster in filming, and it's about probably the only decent Star Wars movie Kennedy ever made. And then you went to The Last Jedi, which was a big fuck you to George Lucas and everybody who's a Star Wars fan. To Solo, A Soy Wars Story, which lost money. To Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which lost money. So, why, I don't know, maybe Iger doesn't have much hindsight, or much foresight. But if she is going to fuck up the budget for the only movie she made that made money, and it didn't make nearly as much as we all thought it did, why would he sit there and go, we should just renew her contract like the contract says and we'll let it go? She did a really good job. No. I'm not talking about, Bob Iger with an ego. I'm talking about Bob Iger who should have a good business mind. I would have said, Kathy, we want you to stay, but I want to renegotiate the contract because there are a few things in your contract that we're not crazy about here. The no fire for cause clause. Okay. See, that's the problem. And those problems that became the hallmark of Kennedy's running of Lucasfilm and became rampant, started with The Force Awakens. $638 million. Way more money than anything, including Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I just, did anybody at Disney know how to keep in a budget or know how to tell a story? I mean, it took me about a year to admit The Force Awakens was shit. Because it is. It's shit. When you look at it, it shrinks the galaxy from that massive place that we discovered in A New Hope to Han Solo walking out of Maz's castle and seeing a bunch of missiles or whatever they were going off from a star that's probably 600 million light years away or something. What the fuck? See, that's the problem. Nothing about The Force Awakens felt like Star Wars. Nothing of it, and it felt new. And then we find out they spent too much money on it. Too much. They could have made 3 Star Wars movies for the price they made of that one. All right, this is surprising, but I'm going to tell you something. Now we know for a fact that Disney barely made $1 billion from all 5 movies that they made, that Kennedy made. And most of it came from The Force Awakens. This is Steph, signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.